Well, we're back, everybody. Well, I spent some time moving all the body parts out, clean the garage up, get the car shoved over, stuck a little plastic on it, just keep some of the Bondo and dust and crap off of it. Got all our body parts lined up here. I've got the driver's rear door stripped down. We got some repairs that happened here. There's a crease here. Looks like a pretty good dent was right here. Getting the Bondo out of it. I just got a little bit of metal work on this one. Got a little bit, this corner needs some work. I got a spot right here that needs some work. Very possibly a spot or two there. Don't know. And of course a little bit under here. This door's not too bad. We've got some other ones that are really bad. Anyway, this door goes right there. So I'll have it on off and on a couple times, probably getting my body lines and this sort of thing taken care of. I'll get my little piece fixed up that goes back right there. The whole thing. And then I'll go to the front door, and then I'll work on this fender. Again, this side's a little bit nicer than the other side. So by the time I get this done, I'll be in good practice and probably good and burn out to start on the other side. But here we go. That's what you got to do. Keep on going. Alright, well, here's what we got. Got some rust here, and of course it's going through on the inside of it too. Rust here. If you look inside the door, you see the surface rust all the way up into here, all the way down through here. Of course, rust in that corner. That's rust. And the reason it rusted, besides it being old, there were some little black plastic things that went over the drain holes. There actually were drain holes with those little black plastic things, or I imagine to keep water from splashing up into the car and into the door, and then of course just coming right back out. So for whatever reason, they thought they needed to put a little flapper thing on there. But they get plugged up with dirt and leaves, and of course the bottom of the door, this door was full of mouse stuffing, and of course rusted her out. Those aren't drain holes, those are rust holes. Right there, there's rust holes right there. So what I'm going to do is I'll end up patching this whole thing. I'm taking this bottom of this door skin, and unfortunately this is the nicest door I got, really. Hey, it is what it is, and this is what I'll be doing to all four of them, I got a feeling. So I'm gonna cut that off with my cutoff wheel right down through there. I'm going to grind off this edge until it gets through the metal just enough that I can peel that skin all the way off, all the way around. Now this has a funny little thing right here. It's just, the way the doors go together. So this isn't going to be easy for me to duplicate. But, now what did I do with it? Okay. I did make a template. Now, this template basically got taped on right underneath the trim, the little trim things that are going to come out and get thrown away anyway because they're crappy. And I'll just have holes, and I'll show you how to fix that later. But then of course I made me a little pattern there so that I have my pattern there. Of course this will work on the other door. You turn around backwards. This is just in case, I'm not going to go all the way up as far as that cardboard, but if something happens, I'm just not real sure how I'm going to go about this. There's probably no easy way of doing it, but I want to do the easiest way. Might cut me up my new piece of metal, stick it in here, and work and get it shaped and formed, and have it overhanging right here. And I'll do that after I've patched up, the inside here. And then what I'll do is cut it off, 1/2 inch around, all the way around. And once I know that all this stuff is solid, then I can bend it over. you know. Or I can use my metal brake, which I think my metal brake isn't this wide, but it might be. So if it is, I'll shape this piece of metal, I'll weld it, you know, belt weld it, or I'll even tuck it just underneath the door skin just a little bit and weld it. You know, and then before I do that, I'll go ahead and put my bend here just to get it started. And of course here, you know, there's no metal brakes that's going to do that. So I'll have to slice the metal and then get it worked around. You know, it's a learning process for me. And if I screw something up, I'll make sure I show you. Alright, here's what we got. Bunch of rust. It's probably just as well I went ahead and cut this whole section out. And I was telling you how those holes are plugged up. There you go. It's almost like a carpet of mouse crap, old leaves, mouse hair. Yummy. It was just packed in this corner right here. So I do have some repairs to do here. I'm going to put in this little, I'm going to replace this little section more than likely. I'll replace, you know, pretty much all of this too, you know, up into here. And you know, some of this can be 415 and all that, but you know, right there's a hole. It doesn't look like a hole yet, but as soon as I start messing with it, that's going to be a hole. That's going to be a hole too. I got a hole there already. Shouldn't be there. I'm not worried about these drain holes because I'll make new ones. I'll make real drain holes so that this thing can breathe. Water might get up, splash up in there, but heck with it. You know, it's going to come back out. That's fact of life. Well, I'm out of sheet metal, so I'm off to get sheet metal, and we'll talk to you guys in a few seconds. Alright, nice sunny Thursday evening here in Indianapolis. Got my patch panel cut out. There's the old piece right above that. And I don't know where the patch panel currently is, but it's around here somewhere. It goes right under here, and I'm working on forming that. But I've got it generally shaped. Patched a little place here where it was rusted through. Cut this clear off because this was all rusted out. Now what I'm going to do is cut a piece of this 16-inch gauge steel to length here. I'm going to use my little bench brake, stick it inside there, and what I'm going to do is just put a, you know, maybe an 1/8 inch bend to go right underneath here. I'll drill some small spot welds, plug welds, whatever you want to call them, and it'll go right underneath this lip. And of course I'll have my angles and stuff so it matches at the ends, and then of course I'll take it off before I weld it and then bend it this way. You know, it's kind of a weird thing. You know, this is, I'll spend more time on this door or these doors than the whole rest of the car, I bet. You know, shaping stuff, and wow. Anyhow, let me maybe get this piece in, or show you how I'm gonna fudge it in there, and we'll get right back to you. Hey everybody. Well, man, here's where we're at. This is the best door I got on this car, and it's a mess. Had a little hole here I patched up. Worked a long time on pinholes, getting them welded up. I'll use this piece of copper pipe to go over my pinhole, then I would weld from the other side, and it would end up nice and smooth, and you know, all the globbiness was inside the door that way. Just a little bit of stuff, I could grind it down, and it seems to help be a heat sink there and stop from blowing through stuff. And I got our bead in here. I got spot welds going, one right there, right there, right there, right there, right there. And once I get the skin on it, I'll probably go and zip right across that little seam right there, grind it all down and seam seal the whole thing. Here's a little patch on, hold on a second, let me, there's a little bit of a patch right here off this piece, and what I've been doing, and I thought I had it fixed, so I had another piece that I welded in here the same way. I welded in there, shape it to fit my cutout, and then I just trace around where my contour is and just whack it off. Makes it a little easier to work with that way. But this is just butt welded flush, you know, you can't hardly feel anything between the two of those, so I'll just spot, go all the way around and weld that, then I'll whack it off, clean that up. Then I think most of what I got to do on this side of the door is done. I then at that point have, I think this was the piece I started working on for my patch on the bottom of the door. And I have a flange tool that I'm going to flange this right here so it goes just underneath the original door skin. Then I'll zip weld it, and I'll have that little bit of a flange there. It'll weld a lot nicer. It'll act like a heat sink again, and I won't blow through the dang butt weld and stuff. And I only do that where on the ends where I can't get a flange underneath it, you know. So I don't know. This is really a pain. Like I said, I'll spend more time on 4 doors than I will all the rest of the car, but it'll be nice. That's how I'm seeing it. Is it's going to be nice. It's going to be a real nice deal when I'm done. Anyways, I'll show you this all when I get it done. We'll start getting the skin on and go from there. Alright, there we go. Now we got her. Now it's not perfect. You know, we'll have a lip that comes over and it'll catch. I'll leave that lip pretty long when I fold it over. It helps to be long when you go to bend it over anyway, I think. But the thing is, I've got all the welding done to it that I'm going to do for now. I have you know, this I just showed you, this piece right here is all replaced. It's good and solid. That's 18 gauge steel right there. This is 18, 16 gauge steel all down through here. So I hammer and dollied it all straight to where this level is the same as this level, is the same as all of it in between. So that door skin ends up being, you know, has the right contour. And if I don't, I have a hell of a time trying to get the door and the car, you know, the body lines and all that good stuff. I'm going to try to get it close, but you know, I don't know. I'm going to flip this thing over, and we're going to check out some stuff with this skin and see what I can do about getting that on. Alright, I want to show you guys something real quick. I came up with this little idea. You know, I ran me a piece of tape right across here and just gingerly cut this all the way across so that it's straight as possible. And it's not perfectly straight. It's just not going to be. But I'm making a new skin because my other skin turned out really nice, except for it's short. It's so short that with using my pattern up there, I cut a pattern of the outside of the door, so I knew exactly the dimensions and trace it out, and I know right where my bend is. It's just long enough to be the panel, but without a lip underneath. That's because of my half-inch bead flange that I put in the piece that I was already using. So I didn't know how much of a flange it was going to be because I didn't have a flange gun yet. Anyhow, I got the flange tool. So now I wanted to make this as straight as possible, this cut, because you put the flange tool in there and it's a half-inch down, and you want that flange to be perfect, perfectly straight. Otherwise your flanges are like this and it just looks like crap. But so what I did was I cut this good old 18 gauge steel out of a Dodge truck tailgate, because I don't have 18 gauge steel that's long enough, and all I could do is buy that piece over there. All my home improvement centers are all out of the bigger pieces, so I got these so I could use the corners and the bends and all that stuff for fixing my doors, and I've kind of done that so far. So anyway, I'm starting out with a new piece. So I clamped this piece of angle iron in here, and this angle iron theoretically should be perfectly straight, you know. So, and then took my cutoff wheel on my body, my little air grinder, and just went across it and cut it all out. Then when I was done with that, took a brand new piece of 36 on a disc, sanded it down. Now when I take this out of here, it's going to be perfectly straight. If I can get it out, and I'll show you. It appears that I'm bleeding. Anyway, that is perfectly straight. Now I can put my flange on there, and I can start working my panel and getting my curvature. See, that's a whole lot of curvature there. A whole lot of curvature. And the thing is, it's not exactly the same in the front to the back. It's not the same as up here to down here. It flattens out. So it's just a pain. So doing it by hand, man. I wish I could buy stuff for this car, but you can't. And I've got a little accident. I'm bleeding a little bit, so that's all right. I think I'll get over it. I'll live. Anyway, let me get this panel worked and see if I can get it in shape. And man, I'd like to get this on here today. Alright. Well, I got my new panel made. Yeah, it looks funny. It's got a pattern on it. It's okay, just checking something out there. Now, I got my panel in there. Got it Tex screwed into place. It's all sucked up right where that flange is supposed to be. Of course, I'll weld those holes up. And the cool thing about the screws is I can take them out, put them back in. I can take that panel off, put it right back on. But what I'm doing is put my pattern on here that I made before I took anything apart, and lined it up right where it belongs underneath the little trim molding thingamajiggers that are junk and are going to come out, but they're there for, you know, good reason now. So what I'm going to do is take my old panel that I cut off, because it is of similar concavedness, and I'm going to stick it right on here, push it down with my hands. Then I'm going to trace out, you know, right along here with my Sharpie all the way around. Then I'll know on the outside where my bend is going to be. Then I'll use my bench, I'll clamp it down, and I'll get this bend started down to a 90-degree angle. I don't know about these. These would be a little bit tougher because they're concave, so they aren't going to go. They're going to have to be sliced, you know, in a place or two to get them to go around the corner. Especially this one, because see, it's goes around the corner like that. So it's going to be tough too. But we'll get it. We'll get it. So I'm going to get this traced out. I'm going to pull this off, get my edge bent. I'm going to check everything out, make sure it's all like it is before I weld it. I'm going to probably, I don't know, I might not even bother, but I'd like to pour 15 inside this joint where this goes across, and the lip on the inside of the door. And then of course it'll get, you know, a little bit more pour 15'd anyway after that on the inside, nice and sealed up. So, and of course seam sealed. It'll be great. You'll see. Thanks. Well, there we go. It's not the greatest thing in the world. I got off to a kind of a rough start, but it's turned out all right. Here's my weld seam. Of course, I beat on it just a little bit as I was welding and grinding and beat on it. That way it's concave, and I can tell there'll be just a little bit of room for some Duraglass in there. But the shape has really turned out pretty decent, and it's hard to tell on camera because, you know, the reflections and of the steel. And it is pretty, like I said, it is pretty rough right along through here. Really, this whole section is. But I get body work. Just like this little crease right here needs body work. I have some holes in here I need to knock the Bondo out of and weld them up, grind them down. Use a dent puller. See, there's a dent right there. Go over all the dent stuff. So this door's gonna have a lot of body work, just like the rest of the dang car. Hey, it's just how it is, you know. So I'm gonna flip it over and work on this, getting this ledge folded over and lined up. And I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, that skin's welded on there anyhow. Alright, here's what we got. Now I cut this long, this lip that's going to go over, I cut it this long so that way when I was done doing everything out here I could trim this off and actually have it to land right where I wanted it to. So I'm going to have it land, there you can see this little flange through here. I want to have it land just before that. And then you're going to, of course I'm going to fill it up with seam sealer down through there. But I used my trick about the angle iron. I used a piece of tape and went across it and made a nice straight line after I measured it. After I measured it here and knew how wide I needed it to be all the way down, I used a piece of tape, went across to mark it, then used angle iron on the outside, lined it up with my mark, a little 1/2 inch piece of steel on the inside, and I used C-clamps to crimp it together on that line and slice it right against that angle iron. So I have a nice, you know, a nice straight cut. So I'm gonna start dialing this over, getting it into place, and when I get it close, I'll decide how I'm going to cut my angles right through here. I'll get it close, you know, not all the way flat, and then I'll cut it. And I'll do it on both ends, all the way down. Then I'll start working on these ends. They're going to be a little different story. Well, there it is. I got it all rolled over. Not looking too bad. It's just a little bit more squared off where I sliced it. I probably should have sliced it more. But I mean, once I sand down these little high points, I think it'll be just fine. You can tell I'm short just a little bit. Here's the old section. So, you know, I'm probably, to be honest with you, I'm probably going to shave that down just a little bit, add a little bit of weld in that little void, and that's going to be it. You know, I mean, if the lines down here by this little thing are just a tiny bit wider than everywhere else, I don't care. See, this is your belt line molding, which lines up with that molding. And standing here, you know, you can't see that. And if you look way underneath there, you can barely see it. See this section. You know, so it's important that's as right as I can make it. But, you know, if this little section isn't, you know, if somebody gets their micrometers out and starts measuring, you're going to see a little bit of a difference, you know, but I'll smooth it out, it'll be fine. The body lines on this car are actually, the way the doors and everything's made, it's just not a perfect line up, straight as an arrow kind of thing, so that's not going to bother me too much. I'm pretty pleased with this panel, I think. There's our back edge, and we got it. We just need to sand it down a little bit. I'm going to go, it had little spot welds, or these little tangs that hang out, and they welded against the inside of the door, about 5 or 6 places on the bottom. So instead of that, I'm just going to do a little stitch weld, a little stitch weld, a little stitch weld. I'll weld up a little bit around this corner on the back side, where my splits are. Weld them up, grind them down. Just keep that door skin from coming loose and rattling around on the. You can see it. Didn't turn out bad. Didn't turn out bad. All the way down through there, and it's, you know, I mean, it's half-assed straight. I'll end up doing a little more dollying on it to get it straightened out. But you know, hey, I'm pretty pleased with that. So that's pretty much it. There isn't much else for me to do. There's a little bit of welding under here. You know, a little bit more grinding, a little bit more finessing, and then a whole bunch of body work. You know, I got, like I was telling you, there's some holes up here I got to weld and all that. So I'll probably, what we're going to do is probably post this video of fixing this door, you know, and then you may not hear from me for a while unless I come up with some really fancy trick, or one of these other doors are tremendously worse, and I'm pretty sure one of them, at least one of them is. So you guys may not hear from me for a while because I'll be busy working on doors, you know. So I'm sure glad you guys all watched this. I only got, I don't know, 30 or 40 views per video, and that's cool because actually it's really cool because I almost have talked to, or at least commented by everybody, or I know everybody that actually watches it, and it's so it's not the number of subscribers. I think to me it's who's watching. All my friends are checking this stuff out, and you know, it's all part of the fun of it. So, well, there you go. There's the major metal work on a pain in the ass door, the door that's the best condition on this car. Was an ass whooping, and you know, I've got 3 more to go after I finish this one. Anyhow, we'll see you guys next time on the next one. Peace. See you later. Okay, y'all, I might have lied. This ain't the end of the video. I'm going to go ahead and finish this door out and show you what I do to get it in primer. Then you'll know what I do to all the other 3 doors unless something crazy happens, and I'll show you that. But we'll go ahead and finish this door out, and then I'll let you go. So just be patient. Thanks. Anyhow, got some masking tape going right along. You got a body line right here, and I wanted to be able to help me visualize it, mostly because I'm blind. There's no paint on here. There are holes right here that I filled in. I welded up and filled in. Now I'm going to use a dent puller, and I'm going to make sure I don't go on any of the places that I welded because they're probably a little weak. But you can see there's kind of a partial crease. I marked a couple of places where I want to put my dip puller here, and this body line, as I can tell, see, like right there, there's one right there I need to get. There's one right there, you know, and I probably don't need to get them, really, these little ones. But you see that one, you see the crease in it, and it's pretty rough. So I want to work that one out, and I want to work this old one out. Now it's kind of hard to see. I don't know if you can see that, or down there you can. This tape's helping me see the low spot, and I can feel it too. But let me get a couple of pins welded on here, and I'll show you what's up. There we go. Got my studs in. I've done a little bit of pulling. You know, like this was the lowest spot on this crown, and it's almost totally gone. You know, I'd rather not have any high spots because of me jerking on it, but I'll probably cut these off. I'll feel for some other. I might do another set between where I have these. But yeah, all you do is, you know, you've probably seen people do it before. Put the slide hammer on it, yank her out, and then while you're holding this, pull up on it and tap around it with the body hammer a little bit to help you know, when it blows out, help knock it back. So I think that's really taken. It's going to get, you know, if I get 80% of the dent out of it, and that's that much less body filler I have to put in it, it just makes the car, you know, better for it. So let me get a few more of these on here, and we'll see what it looks like when I'm done. Alright, I got her about straight, you know, I mean, hell, it's way better than it was, and I feel like I got a couple high spots and I knocked them down, but I went ahead and just shot a little bit of this cheapy paint on here, just as kind of a guy coat. And actually I'm going to go ahead and throw a block across this, and just look for high spots to ting down just a little bit if I'm afraid they're too high. I hate getting my body work on there and finding the high spot and then knocking it down with my hammer. I think that's kind of bad on your body work if you just can't help it, unless you just can't help it. So, and I'm not worried about this guide coaty stuff. I'll wipe this down with lycra thinner real good and clean it all off and make sure it's all gone, no residue, and we'll start doing some body work. Of course, we got a lot of body work right here. Some Duraglass action, and it's one of them things. Be back. Alright, here's what we got. This is our body line, goes straight down the door. It should be straight. And that's this whole door had been caved in right in here and a couple places down through here. So it's just all over the place. So I've skim coated it. I've actually just blocked it, you know, with my long block going like this way and this way and this way and this way until I started getting a line down through here. And while it was still high, it still needs blocked down just a little bit more. I'm pretty much done on this side of the line. Mark it on each end, run me a nice straight piece of tape. And now I'm going to take this tape off and I'll put another piece on this side of the line and I'll block this down really good. Then I'll just might have a few imperfections to fill in and we're good. Down here, I've got a little bit of Bondo. You know, this is a off radius curve. It's really a tough thing on this car. It was the same way at the bottom of the rocker panels. But I've got it's a little flat right here, and I have a little bit too much Bondo in there, so I need to cut that down, cut that out, and I have imperfections down through here that I think will be gone once I do that. So let me get some more of this done, get this body line done, and I'll show you where we're at. Be right back. Alright, well, I don't know if a hillbilly can do any better than this or not. If you kind of hard to see with this camera. Pretty much see how straight that body line is. Now it ain't perfect, I don't think, but it's dang close to perfect as I'm going to get it. And of course we'll have the 2K primer. We get lots of primer on this door and probably all the doors, and they'll get blocked out, and I'll block them body lines out with the primer just like I did with Bondo, and I'll make them straight as an arrow. Got a couple little imperfections, you know, a couple little silly places. Got a little low spot right here. This thing had been hit right here at some point, so this was a high spot. So I tacked it down and it kind of shoved this back out. I think it's going to be alright. Yeah, I just got a couple little places, a couple little high spots. I fixed those, I tacked those down. And a little bit right there, a little bit right there, just a couple little places. And you know, stuff like this on the ends, a real pain in the butt. This door had been, you know, the door had got open and hit on something, and so it was sort of rolled over. A little bit of something there to fix. But heck, we're just getting there. It's getting there. I think the hard part's done. Just a couple little low spots. I might throw a little polyester in. I don't know. I hate to mess with it. But I probably will, just to keep my primer from doing all of the work. All right, we'll have this door and primer before the end of this video. I swear it. All right, there we go. This door is ready for primer. Well, the skin anyway, the outside of it. I have some stuff. Of course, I want to prep my door jambs and all that. I've got a pour 15 inside the door really good that'll come up through my any kind of gaps and holes that I have. Now these are weather strip holes. The weather strip goes through here. You know, rust proof the inside of it, all that 9 yards, all that jazz, and then I'll full thickness, about 3 or 4 coats of 2K primer. Then just as I'm done with that, I'll throw a little bit of reducer in the primer and do just one decent coat on the jam side of everything. So I really don't, you know, if I reduce it down, it flows out good. I don't get any runs in it. I won't have to block sand it, you know, or sand it out. I'll just scuff it down with some Scotch-Brite, put sealer on it, and paint it when the time comes. Now let me get this door set up for my pour 15, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that. Alright, see what we got going on now. Got a little bit of reducer and just a small amount of pore 15, and the reason I'm using reducer, which normally you're not supposed to do that unless you're using pore 15's reducer, of course. But I've got an old can of pore 15 that I need to get used up, and what I did was I wanted to get it inside my little pinch area and wick it down in there, make it nice and thin and get it down in there. I got it and then it's a little dark in there to see probably, but on the flange, the back side of the flange, you know, for my patch, I want it to wick down inside there, fill any kind of holes on the back side of the Bondo and all that, and of course on the inside of that pinch. I'm trying to work that stuff inside there and make it nice and thin. There's a factory hole, little square hole, so I got it down in there, and it gets it down in here, and you wonder why water got inside here and this all rotted out. But anyhow, now what I'm going to do is dump this reduced little small amount of pore 15, then use regular pore 15 and coat the inside of the door really good with it. I'll probably you know, hell, I may not. I might coat a couple of places that I cleaned up some rust, you know, some surface rust and all that stuff. But you know, that's pretty much all I'm going to do with the inside of the door. Of course, I'll seam seal it. I'm going to seam seal all this action here. I got my drain holes in there. Drain hole there. Drain hole there. They're real drain holes, not the little bitty holes with the flappers over top of them. So anyhow, you get this all pore 15'd up and we're off. Alright, there we go. You see I got my door on my door hanger, off my garage door hanger. You see where I got all my little seams, you know, they're all pore 15 really good. That lacquer thinner broke down pore 15 is real thin and got all inside this channel, and I was afraid to really put pore 15 in there before I pinched this over because it can be kind of thick sometimes, you know, and I could have maybe thinned it down and did it while it was wet, but it would have been a heck of a mess, you know. So I did it this way. You know, of course now after I get it primered, we'll seam seal all this stuff up really good, all where my little welds were, right through there. But you know, it's just protected. It's all ready to go. Everywhere there was surface rust, I applied some pore 15, and then after it set up a little bit, I took a lacquer thinner rag and just kind of wiped it all down. Makes it easier to prep it up for some primer. Had a little surface rust going on right up in here, so I took care of that. We're going to get in here and get this door down and go ahead and scuff up the jamb and stuff, and get it ready for primer. So there. Alright. Got the jambs all cleaned up, scuffed down. I scuffed them down at 150, of course masked off a couple little things I don't want to get anything on. Top of it's cleaned off with rubbing alcohol really good, and I'm letting that stuff dry. This door's really turned out pretty nice, you know. I mean, that thing's going to be straight as an arrow. Anyhow, got some masking paper down here on my body stand. I'll get a bunch of stuff on it, but like I said, my plan is about 3 or 4 coats, 3 really good heavy coats of the 2K primer of the good stuff right here. Of course, this is the good stuff. And then just as I'm about to be done, the last little bit in the can, I'll reduce it about 10% just for the jams. I don't really need high build anything. I just want to put a coating on it. There's so much going on, you know, surface rust and all that. As far as surface rust goes, I forgot to tell you something. This stuff right here is called rust mort. Or at least it's the name of stuff that you can buy. I've got some other stuff that was made by, of course Chrysler, for a recall. Then they gave you another little bottle that was just like this, that was about the same size. It was for, you know, surface rust, and that was pour 15, I'm pretty sure, but it all hardened up. This is stuff's years, really old stuff, but it's the same thing. You see the color, it's the same thing. So, but what this stuff does, you can put it on there, and let me see if I can find. I sprayed it just on the end of this, right on the rust here. You see how it turns it black, especially like right there. You know, this is a little heavy. You don't want to really do it to this stuff. You want to grind this down really good. Rust mold it, spray that stuff on, let it dry. 24 hours, come back and pour 15 over top of it. It's just a little extra rust killing, I figure. My buddy Mike Myers had turned me on to that, and so hopefully, you know, maybe in the next video I'll do another door, and I'll show you a few things on the door that I did on this one that I didn't show you in this video. Make sense? All right, let me get this thing in some primer and we'll finish this puppy up. There we go. All primed up. Now you can see some, you know, it looks like waves, but it's actually just the overspray from the gun right where I started spitting and running out. So, and I've got, really what I've got is from this body line down, I have about 4 good thick coats of this primer. This primer is like super thick when it lays out, and you know, if I have any little imperfections, and I guarantee you, I learned from doing that rocker panel all by itself and using the wrong gun. It got real thick and all that, and it turned out pretty nice, but real rough. So I blocked it out with some 150, and the imperfections that were in that thing, little dings and stuff that I missed, they all blocked out. Then I ended up putting another couple coats on it when I did the rest of the car. So this stuff, man, it's you know, if there's any imperfections left, I'll be really kind of surprised. But hey, you never know. You know, if I got any, then I'll fix them. But this door's ready to stack in the house as soon as all this dries. I got just a real thin coat of primer in the jams. Once this primer dries, then I'll seam seal my repair stuff all underneath here. But it turned out pretty nice, I think. I think that body line is going to be just fine. I think that body line I worked so hard on, and then I'll put a piece of masking tape from here down to that side. I'll block this section. Then I'll put a piece from here to there and block this section, and just double sharpen up that body line. But there you go, folks. One door done. Now I might do another video on another door when the next door I think I'm doing is, well, it's this one right here. The front door. The front door that's in front of that back door. And you can see it's pretty rough. You know, I've learned a lesson or two on doing this first door, so I'm hoping the next door will go a little bit faster as soon as I find some sheet metal. But anyway, today I'm going to start stripping that thing down, and you know the whole process on that. But I appreciate you guys watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I know I learned something, and maybe you could learn something too. That if you don't do this stuff for a living, you haven't done it for years, you can still do it. You can still do it. You can learn. You can talk to your buddies that are in the body shop business. You can, watch them do stuff. That's the best thing to do. You can ask them questions and listen to them, and listen to a couple of them, because believe me, there's a lot of opinions about how to do this kind of stuff, and I kind of came up with my own from everybody else's opinion mixed together, and I think that's just the best way for me. Anyhow, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for sharing and subscribing. Like I said, I get about 40 or 50 views per video, and that's cool for me, because most of you I know personally. They might be all over the country, some family members and things like that. But so I think it's a cool thing that they can check out what I'm doing. I'm documenting this car and how I'm getting to where I'm getting at on it. So everybody knows when they see this car, they know what I went through with this. They know that I didn't just pack it full of fiberglass and then Bondo over top of all the big holes. You know, they know that. They know I did the best job that I could do, you know, with what I got to use. You know, it's not necessarily a professional job, but it's a really good amateur job. You know, I don't know. Anyhow, thanks everybody. See you next time.